but I want them to know that they can trust the Conservatives. While trying to defend themselves. I think it's absolutely awful. This should not be happening in our country.
Well, welcome to our now very sunny studio in Salford. It's a busy few days for you ahead. Let's start with the government's proposals to limit some repeated protests. Will you back the Home Secretary in doing that? Well,
of course we will support them, but what took them so long? And the issue, from my perspective, is why should the public trust a Home Secretary who not that long ago was protesting herself, lay down, close the Sainsbury's supermarket because it was stocking Israeli goods? I think the fact is there are too many people in our country who should not be here. That is why today I'm going to be talking about that borders plan you just outlined. That's only one of the things that's in there. We need to leave the ECHR in order to do so. But people need to go back to their countries. They can go to safe third countries if that's the best thing for them. We had a Rwanda plan. We had a deterrent that was already working in terms of deterring people before it had even come into place.
Well, hang on. The evidence on that is disputed. And here's the point about Rwanda.
I'm sure people will dispute it, but the point is Labour scrapped it. They had no plan. They said they were going to smash the gangs, and crossings have increased 40% since they came in.
So where would you propose that 150,000 people would go? Because the original Rwanda plan was going to take perhaps 1,000 people over 5 years.
Laura,
so where would those people all go?
Not here. Not here. They do not belong here. They are committing crimes. They are hurting people. We have been trying to deport so many people and have been facing obstacles in the legal system. That's why we're leaving the ECHR. We tried to deport a Jamaican national who had committed crimes. Shabana Mahmood and Keir Starmer wrote a letter asking us not to deport him. He went on to kill someone else later. I'm tired of us asking all of these irrelevant questions about where should they go. They will go back to where they should do or another country, but they should not be here. We need to look after the people in our country.
But it's not irrelevant to say where would they go. That's a fundamentally important question.
The most relevant question is should they be here? If they should not be here, then they need to be removed.
And once you have concluded that, you have to say where they would go.
The logical conclusion of what you're saying is that let's just give up. It's just all too difficult. This is how we've got to this mess. We cannot have this attitude anymore. That is why we have come up with a credible plan. It's not going to be easy.
It's a credible plan.
But it is.
Tell us credibly where they would go.
I've answered that question. No, they will go back. I have. They will go back to where they came from. That's what they need to do. We cannot have a situation where we can't deport people and say, well, we don't know where they go, so they can just stay here. That is basically inviting every single person across the world to our shores because we don't know where they would go afterwards.
So you think it would be feasible?
This is a fatalistic and defeatist attitude.
So you think,
and I will not have that. We need to have stronger borders, and the Conservative Party has come up with a plan to do that. It is not just that 150,000. It is about banning asylum claims for people who've arrived here illegally. It is about making sure that we leave the ECHR. It is about the return scheme with visa sanctions. There's so much in there. The removals force will be funded by a lot of the money which comes from closing down asylum hotels. We need to make sure that we stop spending billions on people who should not be here and spend the billions on removing them from our country.
And you clearly feel very, very passionately
I do.
that people who don't have a right to be here shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. And that is a unifying message from nearly every mainstream politician these days. But you say you have a credible plan. Tell us credibly how you are going to get 150,000 people every year to leave this country and go back to countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Eritrea. How are you going to make it happen?
They have come from all over the world. Voluntary returns do happen, but that is why we're having the removals force. We will be standing up a force that does not exist right now. Mm-hmm. And I told you where the money is coming from. That is how you do it. But when I was in Epping talking to the families of children who have been hurt, one of them sexually assaulted, they are not interested in these sorts of questions. They want to know why government is failing them. It is not fair on people in our communities across the country to pay the price for this. It was not fair for all of those girls who had foreigners raping them in the grooming gangs to still be living in the community with their victims.
But the question,
that is not right.
But the question, Kemi Badenoch,
I have answered the question.
How you make things happen.
With the removals force. That is the first R in our borders plan.
Let's talk then about your removals force. So you've said it would cost £1.6 billion and you would pay for it by money saved from closing asylum hotels.
Among other things.
But isn't that a bit chicken and egg? Because you can't get the money from closing hotels until the people have all gone, but that's meant to pay for the removals force. So how does that work?
It's not chicken and egg. If you have a plan and you know that you will be making the savings, you can spend that money. We've identified where the money will be coming from. But right now, we have people in social housing. We're spending loads of money, not just on hotels, but asylum centres, all of the policing that goes around it. That Epping protest after that horrific sexual assault, that cost well over £1 million. We are spending all of our money on dealing with migration issues instead of the NHS, instead of education, instead of our police force. I want us to make sure that we can have stronger borders. I've come up with a plan to do it. It is not going to be easy. There is no simple, happy, warm words plan that's going to secure our borders. It has to be something tough. And what I'm not going to do is stick my head in the sand like Keir Starmer, who's too weak to deal with it. And I'm not just going to rush out with lots of random things like Reform are doing. We have given a credible plan.
And one of the things that you've come up with over a period of many months, I know you've been looking carefully at what has been a vexed issue for the Conservative Party for a long time, whether or not to stay in the European Convention on Human Rights. You've made that decision now, and you say you would leave if you were elected. You also say you'd be prepared to leave the Refugee Convention if there aren't changes to how it operates. But British values and democracy are under pressure internationally. Do you really want the UK to join only Russia and Belarus in quitting a decades-old European agreement? What message does that send?
America is not in that agreement.
It's
Australia is not
convention.
in that agreement. Canada is not in that agreement. You don't need to be in that convention to have human rights. Our human rights existed long before the ECHR, long before the Human Rights Act. We had rights in our common law. Parliament had legislated for this over
centuries. And you wouldn't be worried about the message that sends? Because some people in your party are worried about the message that it would send to walk away from such a treaty.
8 European countries, led by Italy, have gone to the Council of Europe and said the ECHR is a problem.
And they're looking at changing it, but that's different from
the Council of Europe. The Council of Europe has dismissed them. Okay, let's stop wasting time. People in our country are suffering and struggling. We are paying more and more money to deal with a problem that is getting worse and worse. We will do whatever it takes. It's not going to be easy. I'm not here to pretend that it's going to be easy. It is going to be difficult. That is why we took our time. We have a credible plan. We've explained how we will pay for it. We've got 200 pages of legal advice, very thorough, explaining what's happened. And we haven't said we're leaving the Refugee Convention, by the way.
You said you'd be prepared to leave, though I read your plans last night.
I have said that we will be prepared to leave anything that is stopping us from securing our borders. Conservatives are the only party with a strong team, not a one-man band, the experience, the credibility to be able to deliver this. And that is what we're going to be showing at our conference.
One of the other things that you announced in the run-up to conference is abolishing the Climate Change Act. And inside your party, not everyone has been happy. The former Prime Minister, Theresa May, said it would be a catastrophic mistake. Many businesses have been confused by it because part of the point of having a target in the Act has allowed businesses to plan, to invest in things like building wind turbines. They know what's coming. And you voted for it. Isn't it hopelessly short-term to get rid of that Act?
It's not working. If something's not working, you should stop it. Just because it says Climate Change Act doesn't mean it's stopping climate change. We made amendments to that Act to comply with the Paris Agreement. We are the only country in the world that is complying with the Paris Agreement. The carbon